Welcome to Business Live. I'm Mark Croskery. In BL tonight, first up, we got Lead In, probably one of the biggest microfinance companies right here in Jamaica. That's Access Financial, folks. They're going to consider a dividend. The board meeting, the board of directors is going to get together October 29th, 2020, and the directors or the board of directors is going to consider if it's fit to make a dividend payment to all ordinary shareholders. Next up, we got Barita Investments, notice of appointment of senior manager. Now, Barita was just in the market, raised a huge amount, probably a record for their APO. Their shareholders' equity, their stockholders' equity is now humongous. You're talking about 27 billion Jamaican dollars or more. Probably the biggest or one of the biggest now in the securities dealer sector. We're going to talk more about that in future Business Lives. But senior management appointment here, that's Mrs. Sarah Ying Henriquez to the head of operations effective October 1st, 2020. Barita really making some stellar moves in the market over the past 6, 12, 18 months in terms of putting in managers, senior management into the company as a public company on the JSE. Now we got Carbon, Flavours and Fragrances. Interesting note or press release here to the JSE. Casual vacancy of external auditor. Something we haven't seen or we're not usual to see on the JSE. But subsequent to their last annual general meeting or AGM, the auditor, McKinley and Associates, has advised that they will not be participating for 2020 or in the next tender. So the company, Carbon, Flavours and Fragrances at CFF, has come out and said that they're going to tender for their audit services, and McKinley has said that they're not going to participate in that. So CFF has done the right thing, put out this press release or put out the release to the JSE, that's jamstockx.com, and they're going to advise to the market as soon as they put an auditor in place or an external auditor, to be clear. Now the big news, the blockbuster news here, that's Seprod delivering monster results, huge results. This is 9 months 2020 as well as the third quarter or Q3. These results, in terms of digesting them, looking at them, look like pre-COVID results, but these are COVID results. So talk about the job that Seprod is doing, Mr. Pandui, management team, everybody down there, board of directors. I mean, massive results. It makes the price to earnings ratio look very attractive in the market right now, despite COVID. We'll talk more about that, but let's get to the results. So hitting earnings per share. We're talking about EPS, $1.75 per share Jamaican versus a loss a year ago of 24 cents Jamaican. Revenues here in Q3, that's the third quarter, hitting 10 billion Jamaican dollars. All these acquisitions that they did, deals they did, versus 8.1 billion the year earlier. Year-to-date EPS, that's where we want to focus on Business Life. Cruising in, crushing the markets, $3.38 Jamaican. You annualize these results, you're talking about $5 Jamaican per share or more when you talk about these results. Huge numbers here. Seprod, we spoke about Caribbean Cream, clearly companies, we spoke about this on BL a couple of months ago, clearly companies in the food market, depending where you're in the food market, but definitely you want to be on the domestic side, the local side, not necessarily the tourism side, doing very well. We're seeing that here with Seprod now. Talk about results. Last up, NCB Financial Group. Some leadership changes here. Not surprising, they did a deal with Guardian. They came out with another release talking about changes that they were making, applications for licenses, and then they got that approval September 30th or so. So Mr. Vernon James, well known in financial markets, the managing director and CEO of NCB Insurance Agency and Fund Management, IAFM, which before was NCBIC. So this is a name change, talking about those licenses. So he's going to transition. He's going to move up to NCB Financial Group. He's going to focus on strategic projects and assist in the strategic projects execution. So his resignation, tendered as a director of NCB Insurance Agency. That's the new name of the company, effective October 31st. It's a good move. At the end of the day, NCB getting bigger, getting their teams organized, consolidating Guardian Holdings as well as NCB Insurance and so forth, and in terms of what's happening there. So moving up the managing director, the CEO up to the holding company, which is where Mr. Hilton is, Mr. Cohen is, and so forth. The changes they did a year, 2 years ago. So this is an interesting move, should help them with their other projects as the release says. Now, the release goes on to say that a leadership vacancy is therefore created and they're underway with the search to get this right. So interesting times in the financial markets, lots of changes at commercial banks, financial institutions over the last 3 to 6 months. It's COVID, folks. Lots of these companies are pivoting right now as we speak. I'm Mark Croskery, this is Business Live.